will flow. Whispers of the night under moonlit skies. Every word so bright in your minded eyes.
My name is Gladys. I stayed in an abusive marriage for 10 years. I have 2 children, a girl and a boy. For my ex-husband, and kept staying in the marriage because of my kids. Prior to my marriage with my ex-husband, I saw all the red flags but kept saying in my heart that there was nothing too hard for God to do. I grew up in a religious home. My father is a pastor, and my mother, a full-time housewife. I saw my father abuse my mother for years. I saw how her voice was stolen from her by my father. She kept praying for my father, hoping that one day he would turn a new leaf. My father would put up appearances outside as the lovely husband, but inside our home was hell. My father provided for us and made sure we never lacked, but his temper made him a monster. When I started dating, I gravitated towards abusive men. I couldn't control it. I felt that my purpose on earth was to pray and wait on a man. In 2014, I got married to Assistant Pastor James. He was a pastor in my dad's church. He was an admirable man and easy on the eyes. He was the prayer point of every single lady in church. He spoke with authority but was respectful towards my father. He was a man of extreme principles. I was forced by my father to marry him. During courtship, I noticed all the red flags. I dare not talk when he is talking. He chose my clothes and my food. We eventually got married, and he made me sit at home as a full-time housewife. I saw myself living my parents' life all over again. In 2015, I became pregnant, carrying my baby girl, Jewel. It was a difficult pregnancy. I vomited every day and was too sick to do any chores at home. My ex-husband came home and beat me up mercilessly. When he found out that I didn't cook for him, I tried explaining to him that I was sick, and every explanation was met with slaps and punches. I got upset and packed my things to my parents' house. My father insisted that I go back to my husband's house, making it clear that I have no place in his house. My mother, as expected, supported my father. She blamed me, saying that I must learn to respect my husband. I hung my head in shame and went back to my ex-husband's home. My ex mocked me and told me that I was all he had left. After that incident, I lost my son. The abuse got worse. In 2018, I gave birth to Joshua, my son. My husband finally opened his church and became his boss. He would introduce me to the church as the mama of the church. Everyone respected me in church and envied our marriage, but deep inside, I was my husband's punching bag. I covered up for him on several occasions. Even though he was a lovely father to his children, he treated me like trash at home. He would send his assistant pastors to go shopping for his children and ignore me. I was never involved in any of his decisions. He even stopped me from owning a smartphone. He only obliged when the woman in church wanted me to join their WhatsApp group. My children, especially my daughter, started seeing the damage that my husband was causing. She would ask why her daddy hated me so much. With my smartphone, I joined a social media group where women were empowered. I started learning how to make pastries. That was the only thing that I could do at home without causing my ex to raise his eyebrows. When my ex was away and the children were off to school, I would bake pastries and supply them to my clients. The Women Empowerment Group helped me with massive advertisements. I went behind my husband and opened a savings account. For 5 years, I was baking and saving money. This time my brand was big, because baking came naturally to me. God gave me the gift as if to make up for all my years of suffering. One of my friends, Deborah, from the Women Empowerment Group, who was in logistics, helped me distribute my pastries. I used my mother's maiden name as my brand name, and it became popular. I used my kitchen to make several millions from pastries without my husband knowing. I hid my flour and other materials in the storage room that my husband rarely visited. Even the women in my ex's church used my pastries several times for church activities. Everyone wanted to know the person behind the brand. Deborah was very good at keeping my secret. I had a huge amount of money in the bank. I never spent a kobo on myself because I never wanted my husband to know. However, the thought of my money in my account made me happy. I was proud of myself, and my self-esteem began to improve. I still endured my ex-husband's shenanigans because I never wanted a broken home for my children. Just like my mother, I was staying and enduring for my kids. My husband noticed how joyful I became and asked me on several occasions why I was happy. I told him that Jesus Christ was the reason for my joy. He accused me of cheating on me and told me that if he ever caught me cheating on him, he would send my corpse back to my parents. I ignored and focused on my business. He started suspecting me and came home one day, unannounced. He saw me baking lots of pastries and discovered that I was the brain behind the product, Yinka Pastries. He was mad and beat me up almost to the point of death in front of my kids. I was hospitalized for several days. He never came to visit me in the hospital. Only my mother nurtured me. She scolded me, saying that I should have listened to my husband and remained a full-time housewife. I looked at her this time out of compassion. We were both damaged. I felt pity for her and made up my mind to break the generational curse. My mother brought my children to my sickbed, and it dawned on me that if I don't break this pattern, my daughter may continue the cycle. I never wanted this for my daughter. She deserved a healthy marriage. After they left, I cried to myself and resolved within me that this pattern would end with me. I was discharged, and I told my parents that I wasn't going back to my ex-husband's house. My father threatened, and I stood my ground. My mother pleaded and pleaded. I told her right in front of my father that it was high time she left my father too. She deserved peace, she deserved love, and she deserved a man who loves. My father made an attempt to hit me. I told him that I had the connections in the right places, and I would make sure he rots in jail. I also made him know that if he continued abusing my mother, I would make sure he paid for it dearly, with or without my mother's consent. He stomped out and left for church in anger. My mother reprimanded me, telling me that she didn't ask me to fight for her. She asked me what society would say if I left my husband. I told her that society would be damned. If I am no more, society won't take care of my children. I moved out of my father's house and stayed in a hotel for a few weeks before I was able to rent a nice apartment for myself. My husband prevented me from seeing my children. With the help of my sisters in the empowerment group, I won custody of my children. My husband was asked to contribute towards their well-being. I don't care about his money, but I will never stop him from being a father to his children. He was asked to visit the children but with a policeman to supervise him so that he won't harm me. Freedom feels so good. I am no longer afraid to speak or walk around my house, fearing that I will trigger my ex. My business is growing well, and I expanded to other states in Nigeria. I purchased an SUV car for myself. For now, I stayed away from church. I still believe in God, but I just need time to heal. I have started therapy to help me heal and improve my self-esteem. Last year, my children and I traveled to Namibia for the holidays. I am enjoying my new life. I am not thinking of relationships at the moment. I will focus on my business, my children, and working on myself. I know you are curious about my husband. I heard he got married to the choir mistress in his church. The truth is that I don't care, and I don't keep tabs on him. I am just happy to be free. My mother is doing better, and my father has toned down on his abuse. I guess my threat worked, or maybe he is getting too old and frail for that. Time, they say, heals. I am a work in progress. Thank you for listening to my story. If you are listening to my story today, remember that you can break generational traumas too. Just believe in yourself.
Step into the light, feel the stories glow. whispers of the night